he had a missed tackle that I was like, come on, man, you got to make that
Do
in
you
the
know
open
what
field.
bothered me about the missed tackles? It was they weren't even trying to tackle. It was like they were throwing their bodies at people's feet. That's
Yeah,
what annoys me. It's like there was. It wasn't like there were missed tackles because they just weren't, wrapping up like there was no tackling form used. Like, I'm sorry, but do you expect to not miss it? Like, what they were doing, anything but missing the tackle was going to happen. Like, just it was ugly at best to describe some of the attempts at what you would quote unquote call tackle attempts, because it was like watching little kids throw each other down during freeze tag at each other. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but it wasn't working, and it needs to be addressed. Like, the tape needs, like, stay on your feet, keep your head up, and hit and wrap up. Like, this idea that you're gonna cut somebody's feet down with your head and shoulders. I don't know where the hell they learned that from, but I know they're not coaching that in Green Bay or anywhere else. But they had a lot of players doing that the last 2 weeks.
the other thing too is ultimately the first team defense. Say what you will, maybe they didn't look the greatest, but they still ultimately held the Ravens' offense to 6 points. And that's an offense that you're not usually going to be facing. That's a different type of offense. That's a different type of
Yeah,
quarterback.
Lamar is speedy as hell, and he has that
Yeah,
versatility.
yeah. You're not going to see that week in and week out. Now, eventually, the NFL is kind of slowly turning to that, but it's not there yet. Other than a handful of quarterbacks that are going to be able to do what he does. But and again, they're still keeping it pretty vanilla. So I'm throwing this game out the window. It was hard to watch and it was ugly, but ultimately it's preseason. They're just trying to get certain things done and evaluate their players. I'm not going to get too caught up in it, and people are freaking out thinking, oh, this team's like not going to be that good. I'm not worried. The other thing too, it's like in baseball. If you have a good starting pitcher that can go a good solid 7 innings or 8 innings, and then you get to the bullpen, well, the bullpen you're not relying on too much. Well, it's the same thing in football in terms of offense and defense. When we don't have Aaron Rodgers playing in like the full first team with Aaron Jones, well, then they didn't do shit on offense tonight on the first team. So yeah, it's going to put more pressure on that defense, and you're just not going to, you can't rely on them to be always making plays all the time because the other half of your team isn't picking up the slack. So that'll be different once we actually have full starting on both sides out there. I'm not too worried about it. Recency bias, that happens in the NFL during preseason during this time. It's always like, well, what did I just see recently? Well, if you haven't seen some of these players, you kind of forget about what they actually can do, and you start only looking at, what you just saw, which are players you're not going to see come week one. So, it's I'm not too wrapped out about it. I see people kind of freaking out on Twitter about it, but I just wanted to end on that as
Well,
far as what I
you just used a word that I think is, I mean, a very important is everything right now, because certain personnel's not in with Rogers, with Jones. I mean, it's very vanilla on both sides of the ball. And if you go watch the defense play calls by Penn tonight, they're not these twists. They're not these stunts. There's like, you'll maybe find like 4 or 5 plays where they threw extra blitzers in there to test and see where they're going to need them behind the front four if they do send blitzes. But you go look at it to what Patton ran last year with the personnel he had. This is a very vanilla blend play calling, and that's why I don't look too much into how the final score looked. It's more of the fact of individual performances because that's what's going to end up locking in the 53.
Well, this is a two sides
exactly.
of the coin situation here. The defense was absolutely ugly. They were getting gashed in both the run and the pass game. Big plays, big plays, big plays. But it's kind of like the receiver thing when we're talking about yardage versus touchdowns and ranking receivers. The Patriots' defense has been terrible in giving up passing yards, terrible in the run yards, but they've always been top 10 in scoring. It's always been bend but don't break. And like you said, Ryan, you can take all the ugliness, and it goes back to the vanilla-ness that Dave also brought up. But at the end of the day, when you're playing that vanilla and you don't have all your key essential personnel the way that you are going to run it and operate, and you're still bending and not breaking type when it comes to the 20s, they're kicking field goals when they get inside the red zone, I'll take that. I'll take all the ugly shit in the world because that's what the Patriots have won 6 rings off of doing. Like, their defense has never been pretty in between the 20s. But when it comes to getting in the red zone, it's hard to score on them. Well,
Yep.
I'll be pissed for 5 minutes of drive if all you're going to do is give up a field goal at the end of it. I'll take that all day. And so that is as ugly as I will say and as ugly as we want to say, and like you said, people freaking out. The positive in that is they gave up field goals. Okay? So not a big deal. It's not what you want to see. You'd want to see more dominance, but at the end of the day, they still didn't give up the points, and that's a great point on your part there, Ryan.
So
I think that about wraps it up, Jay.
All right, well, that's it. Everybody's last word, and that's what we'll call the show. But if you haven't had enough talking, even though it's after midnight on the East Coast, and you want to jump on the internet, you want to go to NFL Addictions on Facebook.com for all your NFL debates, banter. It's not a trash talk site. It's not hot take place. Keep it cordial. Keep it friendly. NFL Addictions on Facebook.com. And if you want that certain autographed memorabilia, you really want that tailgating set or the team grill set, and you can't afford it, wife won't let you buy it, go to Raz Addictions on Facebook.com and play their version of the raffle to play and win all kinds of cool stuff. It's all authenticated, authentic autographed memorabilia. The things like Dave has won. He's won a tailgating set, a grill set. He's won a TK autographed football from Jerry Kramer. Dave's probably winning something right now as I speak because he's always playing it. So go to Raz Addictions on Facebook.com and you'll have a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Ryan, for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you, brother.
Always fun to have Dave bantering with me. Great game night. Great breakdown, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see everybody and talk to you again on Tuesday. Good night, folks. Go.
Night, folks. Go Pack, go.
Go.
Go Pack, go.